Friends, let's gather in the warmth of this moment and talk about something that matters deeply, something that cuts through the noise of our busy lives and anchors us in truth. To see someone's true character, to really know who they are beneath the surface, is a sacred act. It's not about judging or boxing people into tidy categories. It's about opening our hearts to witness the essence of another human being. And here's the thing, you don't need to peel back every layer or solve a puzzle to understand someone's core. You only need to notice 5 things. 5 quiet, powerful signals that reveal the truth of who someone is. Let's walk through them together with curiosity and courage, because this journey is as much about understanding others as it is about understanding ourselves. First, notice how someone treats those who can do nothing for them. This is where character whispers its truth. In a world that often measures worth by status, power, or utility, the way someone interacts with those who hold no leverage over them is a window into their soul. Watch how they speak to the barista fumbling with a coffee order, or how they respond to the stranger asking for direction. Do they offer kindness, or do they dismiss? Do they see the humanity in the person standing before them, or do they see only a role, a function, a means to an end? This isn't about grand gestures or performative politeness. It's about the small, unscripted moments when no one is watching. Those moments are where character lives, raw and unfiltered. Let's linger here for a moment, because this first signal is so easy to overlook. We're conditioned to notice the loud things, someone's accomplishments, their charm, their carefully curated image, but character doesn't shout. It hums softly in the background. It's in the way someone pauses to thank the janitor who's sweeping the floor, not because they're trying to impress, but because they genuinely see that person's worth. It's in the patience they show when the cashier is struggling, or the respect they offer to someone society might deem lesser. These are the threads of integrity that weave a person's true self. And when you see someone consistently show up with kindness in these moments, you're witnessing a heart that values connection over convenience. Now let's shift to the second thing to notice: how someone handles their mistakes. Oh, this one is a mirror, isn't it? Mistakes are part of being human. They're the cracks in our armor, the places where we're all a little vulnerable. But what someone does when they mess up tells you everything about their character. Do they own it, or do they deflect? Do they apologize with sincerity, or do they twist the narrative to protect their ego? A person of true character doesn't run from their missteps. They step into them. They say, I was wrong, and they mean it. They don't just apologize to smooth things over. They seek to understand the impact of their actions and make it right. This is harder than it sounds, because owning a mistake requires courage. It's uncomfortable to stand in the mess you've made and say, this is mine. But that discomfort is where growth lives. When you see someone who can sit in that space, who can look you in the eye and say, I hurt you and I'm sorry, you're seeing someone who values truth over pride. And on the flip side, when someone dodges accountability, when they blame others or rewrite the story, you're seeing a character that's more invested in self-preservation than in authenticity. Pay attention to this, because it's a signal that doesn't lie. Let's keep going, because the third thing to notice is how someone responds to the success of others. This one is a quiet revealer, but it's profound. In a world that often feels like a zero-sum game, where one person's win can feel like another's loss, how someone celebrates or doesn't celebrate someone else's joy tells you so much about their heart. Do they cheer with genuine enthusiasm when a friend gets a promotion, or do you sense a flicker of envy? Do they amplify the achievements of others, or do they subtly diminish them? A person of true character finds joy in the victories of those around them, because they know that someone else's light doesn't dim their own. This isn't always easy. We're human, and comparison can creep in. But character shows up in how someone wrestles with those feelings. Do they lean into generosity even when it's hard? Do they show up with a high five or a heartfelt, I'm so proud of you? Or do they respond with silence or worse, a backhanded compliment that stings? The way someone navigates this space reveals their capacity for connection. A person who can celebrate others without reservation is someone who lives from a place of abundance, not scarcity. And that's a character worth knowing. Now, let's turn to the fourth thing, how someone listens, truly listens. Not the kind of listening where they're just waiting for their turn to speak, but the kind where they're fully present, hearing not just your words, but the heart behind them. Listening is an act of love, and it's one of the most powerful ways to gauge someone's character. Do they make space for your story, or do they interrupt with their own? Do they ask questions that show they're curious about your world, or do they steer the conversation back to themselves? A person who listens deeply is a person who values you, not just what you can offer, but who you are. This kind of listening is rare and it's sacred. It's the kind that makes you feel seen, not just heard. When someone listens like this, they're saying, you matter. Your thoughts, your feelings, your experiences, they matter. And that's a reflection of character that runs deep. On the other hand, when someone listens only to respond, or when they're distracted, checking their phone or scanning the room, it's a signal that their focus is elsewhere. Character shows up in the quiet act of presence, and it's something you can feel in your bones when it's real. Finally, the fifth thing to notice is how someone shows up in tough times. Life is messy, and it's in the mess that character shines brightest. When the chips are down, when someone they care about is struggling, or when they're facing their own storms, how do they respond? Do they lean in with compassion and grit, or do they pull back, overwhelmed or indifferent? A person of true character doesn't shy away from the hard stuff. They show up, not with perfect answers or grand gestures, but with a steady presence that says, I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. This is where you see the depth of someone's heart. It's in the friend who sits with you in silence when you're grieving, not trying to fix it, but just being there. It's in the colleague who steps up to help when you're drowning, even though they're swamped too. It's in the way someone faces their own challenges with resilience, not resentment. Tough times strip away the masks we wear, and what's left is the truth of who someone is. Pay attention to how they show up when life gets heavy, because that's where character is forged. Let's pause here and breathe, because these 5 things, how someone treats those who can do nothing for them, how they handle their mistakes, how they respond to the success of others, how they listen, and how they show up in tough times, are not just a checklist. They're a map to understanding the heart of another person. And here's the beautiful, messy truth. Noticing these things in others invites us to notice them in ourselves. Because character isn't just something we observe, it's something we cultivate moment by moment, choice by choice. As we move through the layers of these 5 signals, let's start with the first one again, how someone treats those who can do nothing for them. This is such a pure measure of character because it's untainted by ulterior motives. There's no reward, no applause, no immediate gain. It's just a person's heart showing up in the world. Think about the last time you saw someone extend kindness to a stranger. A genuine smile, a moment of patience, a small act that said, I see you. That's character in action. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present in a way that honors the dignity of everyone, no matter who they are. And isn't it humbling to think about how often we miss this? We get caught up in the rush of life and our own agendas, and we forget to notice the people who cross our paths. But character doesn't demand a spotlight. It thrives in the quiet corners. It's in the way someone holds the door for the person behind them, not because they're trying to be noticed, but because it's just who they are. When you see this kind of consistency, you're seeing a heart that's grounded in respect and compassion. And that's a heart you can trust. Let's circle back to the second signal, how someone handles their mistakes. This one is so rich because it's where vulnerability and integrity collide. We all mess up. It's part of the human deal. But what we do in the aftermath is what defines us. A person of true character doesn't just say sorry to check a box. They dig into the why of their mistake. They ask, how did this affect you? What can I do differently? That kind of accountability is rare and it's powerful. It's a sign of someone who's more committed to growth than to being right. This is worth lingering on because owning a mistake is one of the bravest things a person can do. It's standing in the truth of your imperfection and saying, I'm human and I'm trying. When you see someone do this, not just once, but as a pattern, you're seeing a character that's built on honesty. And when someone avoids this, when they shift blame or make excuses, it's not just a red flag. It's a signal that their ego is louder than their integrity. Notice this because it's a truth that doesn't hide for long. Now, let's revisit the third signal, how someone responds to the success of others. This one is so telling because it reveals a person's relationship with abundance. A person of true character doesn't see life as a competition, they see it as a shared journey. When someone else wins, they don't feel threatened, they feel inspired. They clap, they cheer, they say, your victory lifts us all. That kind of generosity is a hallmark of a heart that's secure in its own worth. But let's be real, this can be hard. Envy is a human emotion and we all feel it sometimes. What matters is what someone does with it. Do they push it aside and choose joy? Do they show up with a genuine, you did it? Or do they let that envy fester, showing up in subtle digs or passive aggressive comments? The way someone navigates this space tells you whether they're living from a place of scarcity or abundance. And a person who chooses abundance, even when it's tough, is someone whose character shines bright. Let's dive back into the fourth signal, how someone listens. This one is so simple, yet so profound. Listening is an act of presence, and presence is an act of love. When someone listens to you, really listens, with their whole heart, you feel it. It's like a gift, a moment of connection that says, you're not alone. A person of true character listens to understand, not to reply. They lean in, they ask questions, they hold space for your truth. And that kind of listening changes everything. Think about the last time someone truly listened to you. Maybe it was a friend who put their phone down and looked you in the eye. Maybe it was a colleague who heard your idea and built on it, not to take credit, but to honor your voice. That's character in action. It's not flashy, but it's transformative. And when you see someone who listens like this consistently, you're seeing a heart that values connection over control. That's a heart worth cherishing. And finally, let's come back to the fifth signal, how someone shows up in tough times. This is where character is tested, and it's where it shines. Life throws curveballs, loss, failure, heartbreak, and how someone responds in those moments reveals their core. Do they show up with courage and compassion even when it's messy? Do they stay steady, not because they have all the answers, but because they're committed to being there? A person of true character doesn't run from the hard stuff. They lean into it with grit and grace. This is such a powerful signal because tough times are universal. We all face them, and we all need people who will stand with us in the storm. When you see someone who shows up like this, whether it's for you or for someone else, you're seeing a character that's built on loyalty and love. And when you see someone pull back, or worse, exploit someone's vulnerability, it's a signal that their character is more about self-protection than connection. Notice this, because it's a truth that holds up under pressure. As we weave these 5 signals together, let's reflect on what they mean. To see someone's true character is to see their heart in action. It's not about perfection, it's about consistency. It's about the choices they make day after day in the small moments and the big ones. How they treat those who can do nothing for them. how they handle their mistakes, how they respond to the success of others, how they listen, how 67 they show up in tough times. These are the threads that make up the fabric of who someone is. But here's the deeper invitation. As we notice these things in others, we're called to notice them in ourselves. Because character isn't just something we observe, it's something we build. Every time we choose kindness over indifference, accountability over avoidance, generosity over envy, presence over distraction, courage over comfort, we're shaping our own character. And that's a lifelong journey, one that asks us to show up with intention and heart. So, my friends, let's commit to this work. Let's notice these 5 things, not to judge, but to understand. Let's look for the quiet signals of character in the people around us, and let's strive to embody them ourselves. Because in the end, character is what connects us. It's what makes us human. It's what makes life worth living. And when we see it, when we cultivate it, we're not just witnessing truth, we're creating it together. Let's go out into the world with open eyes and open hearts. Let's notice the small moments, the quiet choices, the ways people show up when no one's watching. Let's honor the beauty of true character, and let's challenge ourselves to live it every day. Because that's how we build a world that's braver, kinder, and more connected. That's how we see each other and ourselves for who we truly are. How can Grok help?